plaintiff, Deborah Ray, boarded the defendant's horse at her property, but she claims she also took guardianship of the defendant's newborn baby after she and the defendant tested positive for meth. However, she's suing the defendant today for breach of contract. Defendant Autumn Garrity Johnson says she and Deborah stopped getting along once Deborah started interfering in her relationship with her boyfriend. And then Deborah became vindictive. She's countersuing for unreturned property.
All rise. This court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Greg Mathis presiding. You may now be seated.
All right, start with you, ma'am.
Okay, I met Autumn in the end of December of 2019. A guy that worked for me on my property told me she needed a place to board a horse. So I talked to her. We agreed on her to board her horse on my property for $200 a month. This went along and she never paid board. But anyway, in April, Easter Sunday, her baby was born. They both tested positive for methamphetamine.
I don't see where that's relevant.
She asked me to be protector of her baby. I agreed to be protector of her baby. Her and her boyfriend and the baby moved into my home May the 1st.
Yeah, she says she doesn't believe it's relevant. Why do you think it's relevant to her boarding her horse for $200 a month? How is it relevant? Her drug and child. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no. Go ahead. Why do you think it might tie together?
Because that's the whole reason she was on my property in my house.
Why?
Because I took her baby in to be protector.
Okay.
I asked her to live in my house while I had the baby with her boyfriend.
There it is,
That's the only reason she was in my house.
So that's why it's relevant, ma'am. Now, I didn't hear about her moving in. I heard you saying you took guardianship of the baby, but she also moved in?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because some guardianships, the child just comes. In this case, she came as well, and you took guardianship to keep the child from being removed, perhaps, from her?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I wanted to help her out because she'd already lost one child. And I believed her stories about how she went through rehab.
I don't see.
And it was a false positive for the drug.
Well, hold on. She still doesn't understand why it's relevant. You're being sued today regarding the use of her property. Part of the use of her property was the boarding. She's also telling me the motive behind the use of her property, in addition to the horse boarding, was using her property to house your child and you because of the guardianship that she took over your child. So she has every right. Those are very much connected. If your child didn't live on her property, and you didn't live on her property, you are absolutely right. It would be irrelevant. That this is certainly a part of the evidence to indicate whether you are a responsible tenant. That's what she's suing about, the tenancy of the horses. And part of that, to prove whether you were a good tenant regarding the horse boarding, is to demonstrate that you weren't a good tenant either as a in-home guest. So there is some relevance. So how did that work out when she lived with you?
Not too good.
Why?
As things move on, she got more and more irrational. She was sending me crazy texts. I was telling her boyfriend constantly, she's texting me again, make her stop.
About what type of things?
Telling me to keep my mouth shut and just all the time. It was always something. And she brought her dogs to the house. She brought chickens to the house. Her horse was there. Her horse trailer was there. Another vehicle was there. And she was never a tenant in my home. She was a house guest. And the suit that she had in me in our local community, she claimed I was a vindictive ex-landlord that held her property hostage. I was never her landlord. She was a house guest. I was doing her a favor. I helped her every way I could for her to be with her baby.
All right, let me ask her, ma'am, do you consider yourself a tenant at her house?
Yes, I did.
And you had a court filing regarding that?
Yes, I did.
And now you don't want me to talk about it. Now you don't think that's relevant. You filed a claim. You thought it was so relevant, but now you don't even want me to talk about it, or you don't want to tell me about something that you acknowledged in court documents. All right. And how did things come to a head with you, ma'am? She began texting irrational things to you over the course
and
of...
she wouldn't clean house, she wouldn't do dishes, she wouldn't even get her nasty hair out of the bathtub drain. And I was very ill at this time. I'd already been in the hospital twice, the last time for 13 days. And I couldn't do anything. And she acted like she wasn't supposed to do anything. And the very last straw for me was she came out of her bedroom with a stack of dirty dishes that had mold growing all over them. I had already lost a set of dishes, 2.5 sets of silverware. I had no glasses. I was down to 2 towels. And she left them on the counter for 3 days.
Now, what about the
3
boarding
days.
situation? Because that's what you're suing for today. And in the case of boarding, if you charged her $200 a month, you were the landlord for the boarding of her horse.
Yes,
so
sir,
tell me how that went. How did that go?
Well, I offered her first month's board of $200 for her boyfriend to help put the tin on the back of my pole barn. Only half of the job was done. And she paid me $60 in total in cash. And her boyfriend brought 3 bags of horse feed and a bag of dog food. And I gave her credit for all that in my lawsuit against her, which brought it to, I believe it's $1,768. Because her horse was there 11 months. It went from January 1st until November 30th. And you've got the paperwork where she moved her horse on November 30th. And you've got the agreement there where she actually couldn't do the math multiplication, where she said 200 a month times 10 comes to 1,000 minus the 200 you allotted Corey for doing work on my tractor. And I corrected her and said 200 a month times 10 comes to 2,000. And I allotted Corey the $200 plus the $100 for half the work he did on the pole barn, plus the $72 that he bought for the horse feed and the bag of dog food. I was never her landlord. She was a house guest. I was doing her a favor. I helped her every way I could for her to be with her baby.
All right, ma'am. Did you consider yourself a tenant at her house?
Yes, I did.
And you had a court filing regarding that?
Yes, I did.
And now you don't want me to talk about it?
Plaintiff Deborah Ray claims she took guardianship of the defendant's newborn baby after she was born with meth in her system.
Okay, let me hear from you, ma'am. Whatever background, and then you can address the boarding.
In January, like she had said, moved my horse out there to her property. And she agreed that Corey could work off the horse board because I was pregnant at the time. So she agreed to that. Corey worked on the tractor hydraulics. He worked on a rental property. He worked around the house. And everything was fine up until the point where she became pretty vindictive and spiteful because she no longer got along with me. And so then...
Why was that? What happened with you all's relationship?
She started texting his mom saying she didn't like how I treated him, just other stuff that a landlord should worry about. So then she wanted $1,600 and something for horse board in October when she decided to change the oral agreement we had.
Wasn't the agreement $200 a month?
No, it was Corey was going to work off the horse.
Oh, there was no agreement to pay any money.
No,
That's a lie, Your Honor. Look at page 6.
6 of your evidence?
Yes, sir.
It's a text? Is that what you...
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It says $200 a month is what you told us. 200 times 10 is 1,000 minus the 200
I
you
need
said
to
a
find
lot
that.
for
That's
$200. It's $800.
That's the end of the case. I need to find that. Ma'am, did you say that? You texted
It's on
that?
text.
I told her whatever I had to
to
because I had a new baby.
Oh, you told her whatever you had to.
Harassing us.
Okay. You told her whatever you had to.
Yes.
Okay, and now you're telling me whatever you have to. Well, it didn't work for me.
God.
It didn't work for me, and it didn't work for her either because you got sued. So you might want to start telling the truth instead of telling what you think you have to. I mean, I'm a lie if I have to, which are dope fiend ways. So now I do believe you're a dope fiend like she says, Your claim is dismissed and yours is granted. Have a good day. Thank you for caring for the baby.
Thank
at
you very
least.
much.
God bless you. Have a good day.
Very much. That's what you get for lying, Autumn. That's what you get for lying. Yeah, she lied. She got caught in her lies. You got caught in your lies. You know you texted. You know you owed it. You know what you said. And you know I allotted Corey what he earned. You know good and well I gave him what he earned.
Plaintiff Derek Harrison and his wife Waukesha say growing up, Derek was always told that he looked just like the defendant, even though he was told another man was his father. Derek petitioned the court for a paternity test to see if the defendant may be his actual father. Defendant Hezzy Jack admits that Derek reached out to him when he was 14, asking if he was his father. And although Hezzy agreed to take a paternity test, he insists it's impossible because he never had sexual relations with Derek's mother.
Mr. Harrison, you're seeking to determine whether Mr. Jack is your dad?
Yes, sir.
All right, start with you. Give me some background here.
Well, as a child, growing up, I always heard that I looked more like Hezzy and his daughters, which all his daughters was telling me that I looked just like their father.
Starting at what age did you begin hearing that?
I was 9 years old. His ex picked me up when I was running through my auntie house, and she held me in the air and she said that this is Hezzy's son right here. And my auntie, Betty Jean, she said that, girl, gone, like that. And she put me back down. I started back running. And they got my clothes and stuff together. And
now, where did you know of him? How did you know he existed?
Because of the family. We all related.
And you look like him.
Look like him.
Okay. And what about his children? You say they would say things to you at what age?
It started around 10, and then around 11, we had a family reunion, like get together, cookout. And I was sitting on the bench one day, and they approached me and was like, boy, you look just like my daddy. I'm like, who is your daddy? And they said Hezzy Jack was their father. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know Hezzy Jack like that. So we started talking in conversation, and I got a little older and everything, and they gave me his number like years later down the line. His daughters gave me his cell phone number down the line years later.
How old were you?
I was like 14, 15.
Okay. 14, you got a cell phone. What happened then?
And talked to him on the phone and everything. And
you said people have been saying you're my dad? Or what did you say?
I was telling him that his daughters and everything was telling me that you was my father. He was like, well, it's a possibility, you know, that you could be mine.
Okay. He said there was a possibility.
Yeah. Talked to him on the phone and everything.
You said people have been saying you're my dad? Or what did you say?
I was telling him that his daughters and everything was telling me that you was my father. He was like, well, it's a possibility, you know, that you could be mine.
Plaintiff Derek Harrison believes the defendant may be his biological father, but the defendant insists it's not possible, so he took a paternity test today to put the issue to rest.
Who did you think your dad was up until that time? Because this is 14 years into your life.
To tell you the truth, I really didn't know. All my mama ever told me was the other guy was my father.
Were you ever in touch with him?
Well, he was staying with us at the time, and I seen him and things.
So you had a father you were living with, that you grew up in the house under.
Yeah.
And your mother said he was your father.
My mama said that he was my father.
And because some kids on the street and a nosy auntie said that you look like him.
Like Hezzy.
What made you determine that the man who would raise you as your father might not be your father? Just because somebody said on the street?
Because of the simple fact, growing up, all he did was beat me. He didn't whoop me. I always got beat with a yard ruler. or a nice size belt, that was
Beat where?
into my back area to where I'd be bruised with the ruler numbers on my back. So
Above your waist?
yeah, above my waist.
Between your neck and your waist.
It's like the center of my spine.
Not below your butt.
No, I never got hit on my butt
Okay.
at all, period.
All right.
So
Because most of us in those days got hit on the butt or legs
I ain't never
with
got hit
items,
on the
whether
butt.
it's switches, ironing, I got them all. Ironing cords, switches, branches, boards, everything. And none of that worked. But yeah, I got whooped all the time too. So, let me hear from you, sir.
I'm here because he did contact me.
At age 14?
Yeah, I think that's what he said was at the time 14. But the reason I'm here because
No, what was that discussion at age 14? He said you told him it was a possibility, so I want to hear the discussion.
I don't remember telling him it was a possibility because I'm pretty sure it wasn't a possibility.
Pretty sure.
Yeah,
What does pretty sure mean?
because I never had any kind of relationship with
Okay,
his
so
mother.
it's not pretty sure, it's absolute.
Absolutely,
We go from possible to pretty sure
yeah,
to I gotta come up with absolute.
yes,
So I'm the only one with absolute.
yeah,
You still pretty sure is not, and he,
well, Your Honor, every time I used to always ask my mom always brushed me off. She'd tell me, boy, get out of my face. It was never a straight answer.
yeah, but if one of my kids come to me with some silliness like that, that's exactly what I'm gonna do, or I would expect my wife to do. If I've been there all along, just because of the way I punish them, and some stuff they hear on the street because I resemble somebody, so, and they say, you're not my daddy because you whoop me too much, or because I don't like the way you punish me. Mama, he ain't my daddy, is he? Really? My wife gonna say, don't get out of here. You talking crazy. Stop doing what you're doing. Don't come in here talking about he ain't your daddy because he whooped you too much. That's what would happen. I don't blame her. I wouldn't dignify that if that's not true. And this other man should be insulted that you're doing this. This man said he's never even been with your mother. Did he tell you he's never been with your mother?
He never told me that.
You didn't tell him that immediately? This could have been done at age 14. I've never had any relations with your mother in my life.
yeah. Well,
tell him that?
I told him that, but for whatever reason,
Now, you told him pretty sure.
yeah,
That was your mistake.
right. But some of the family members keep telling him because they say he looks like me. But the reason I came here today just so he could get closure. I mean, he been going around with this for 39
Yeah, but
years.
you could have helped pretty sure. What does that mean? If somebody tell me they're pretty sure, yes, I'm going to be just like him. I said, well, I got to know. This man talking about pretty sure. That's a possibility. Pretty sure means there's a possibility, but I'm pretty sure either it is or I'm pretty sure it's not. You're still leaving room for truth. And you're saying now that it's absolutely no chance because you never touched his mother. That was an easy explanation to the young man at age 14. I don't know whether to believe you or not, but we're going to know real quick because I just can't believe you wouldn't make that adamantly clear for a 14-year-old boy.
I don't remember telling him it was a possibility because I'm pretty sure it wasn't a possibility.
Pretty sure.
Yeah,
What does pretty sure mean?
because I never had any kind of relationship with his
Okay, so
mother.
it's not pretty sure, it's absolute.
Absolutely,
We go from possible to pretty sure
yeah,
to I gotta come up with absolute.
yes,
So I'm the only one with absolute.
yeah.
Plaintiff Derek Harrison believes the defendant may be his biological father, but the defendant insists it's not possible. So he took a paternity test today to put the issue to rest.
Where's the father that was in the household with you? What age when he left the household, if he did?
He left the household when
How old were you?
I was in my 20s.
So you were raised 100%, all up until your adulthood like every other two-parent home. You could have gotten this out of the way And your mother should have talked to you seriously instead of playing with you all these years. How many times did you ask your mother over the years?
I asked her twice.
I hope you never asked your father that was raising you, did you?
No.
You never questioned him. Thank God you didn't. Is he still alive?
I don't know.
After you left, you didn't have any more communication as a grown man?
No.
Why not?
Because I ain't do nothing but get beat by him.
Okay, all right, so your
So
resentment and anger.
I didn't want to deal
Okay,
with
that's
him.
understandable.
You know,
Yeah, that's understandable. And I can see how you wouldn't want a man like that to be your father, and you couldn't understand how a man, your father, would be so brutal towards you. Understandable. There's a lot of reasons, perhaps mental illness. So, try to get that peace, because I know it still probably bothers you. That's trauma, and you were traumatized all your young life like that. If you think you need to go see someone, you should do that, because, there may be something that someone can tell you to give you some understanding of what you went through. But he's not your father. He's not your father at all. All right. Good luck to you. Not too late to go and get it figured out with some help from a professional, because when you were talking to me and telling me you had a man under the roof and your mother was blowing you off, that said to me that nobody believed that, and they didn't even take your question seriously. And some mothers would have been resentful of you even asking that. Boy, what you saying? Are you saying I've been lying to you all your life and this ain't your father? You bet, they'd have gotten a little upset. She just blew you off, and thank God you didn't ask the father who raised you in the household, even though he needed his feelings hurt if what you say is true. But nonetheless, he's not your father. Good luck to you guys. Have a good day.
Well, I'm glad he got a closure. And he been carrying this around, for the longest. And I hope that me and him can stay in some kind of touch, because he is connected to my family with my kids. And whatever I could do for him, I'll be glad to assist with him. But it hurts me to even hear him say what he have been through, because, that's... But I'm glad we got a closure so we can move on from here and start over new.
Plaintiff Tracy Cole says the defendant is her second cousin, and they used to be close. However, they got into an altercation after a family gathering, and the defendant almost killed her when she attacked her with a fiberglass rod. Tracy's suing for her medical bills and pain and suffering. Defendant Tony Anderson says she deeply regrets what happened between her and Tracy, but she claims Tracy is not telling the whole truth. Tony claims on the night of the incident, Tracy was beating Tony's niece with a belt, and that's why Tony got involved. Tony's countersuing for defamation and emotional distress.
Start with you.
Tony is my second cousin. We used to do a lot of things together. Go to church, sing in the choir, party together, and do a lot of things with her kids.
What type of party?
Like go to clubs and stuff like
Before or after church?
Before church.
Okay.
It'll be Friday night. We go to a club.
After hour joint?
After hours.
Okay. Where they gamble, smoke, weed, and
I don't know what they did, but I didn't do that. No.
But you were there?
Yeah, I was there.
The preacher wasn't there.
No, the preacher wasn't there.
I was just trying to understand. All right, I got you. All right, go ahead.
And
well, you were doing the right thing. Don't let me discourage you. Because if you're doing all that, you needed some church.
Went to church Sunday morning.
Some churches, I tell people all the time, church is for sinners. If you're not sinning, then you can just sit at home and wait on the Lord. Otherwise, you need to come to church, pray for forgiveness, listen to a message to change your ways, and strengthen you to maintain your righteousness.
Until Friday.
That's right.
Defendant Tony Anderson is being sued by her cousin, who claims Tony nearly killed her when she attacked her with a fiberglass rod.
All right, so you all went to church, you partied, you hung out. What else?
So this day, Tony had hit me in a fiberglass rod, which I have the scar to prove it. And I also have the pictures to show it the 2 days after that.
Let me see it.
That's what she hit me with on the 21st of July, a fiberglass rod. Those was the stitches. And that's where she split me in my head. I could have lost my life. They told me 2 inches. Then she missed my temple. I could have died that day. And it was so hard. And me and her were so close. And she did this to me. That's why I'm here today, because of my medical bills and pain and suffering.
I'm glad you came here. A lot of people would have approached it a different way, so I'm glad you came to court to sue her. Did you prosecute?
Yes, I did. I have that paper where they prosecute her.
You did good. That's the 2 things people should do. They should prosecute and then sue them civilly, because I know folks, young guys in particular, who get in fist fights and say, we're going to get a couple of my buddies and go and fist fight back. Well, number one, not too many people are fist fighting these days. And number 2, even a fist fight can lead to an unexpected consequence. Someone falls, hits their head on the curb or on a rock or anything and dies. Manslaughter. You're going to prison for that fist fight. So I'm glad you didn't try and retaliate, did you?
I couldn't. I was in so much pain.
Well, I'm saying come back later, send your husband and his boys.
Talked to her.
I'm sure he was tempted to, but thank God he thought better and didn't do such a thing. Why did that happen? What was the fight
We was
about?
at a family gathering with all the family, and it was in Michigan, Ben Harbor, Michigan. And my mom had got rooms in her name, and it was minors in the room, which is her nephew that's sitting here and her son that's not here. And my mom told me to tell them she's not being responsible for any action in the hotel room because it was in her name. Mm-hmm. So her son, which is not here, went up there and told her that I jumped in his face, which I didn't. He was on the floor and I'm standing up. So I did not jump in his face. So she came downstairs she pushed the door so hard where you can hear it down the hallway. And she was like, Tracy, what you say to my son? And I told her what my mama told me to tell her. She got offensive and everything. She got to say with my mom. She wanted to fight me then. My mom told her no. Tony got up and her family member, they left the next day, which was the 19th. They left. She came back and went home and told everybody what she was going to do to me. And everything. I have a written statement.
Over something that small. Ma'am, let me hear from you.
Your Honor, first I would like to apologize to my cousin because I do feel bad about what I did. I attempted to apologize to her. I feel, I love her and it should have went that far. And if I could take it back, I would, but it didn't happen that way. We was in Michigan, like she said, at reunion. And Tracy is a young woman. She had no kids. So she's the type that, boss everybody kids around. And everybody know how she is. So that day, my son came to me several times telling me what she was saying. And I told him, I said, y'all know how she is, just leave it alone. So it got real ugly that night. My son was in her brother's room. She came and put my son out the room. I mean, by me being a mother, I just went downstairs and asked, I was like, Tracy, what went on? And she was like, y'all think everybody's scared of y'all. That's why your brother's dead today. And I had 3 brothers to get killed. She said some hurtful things to me. My nephew is right here and he can vouch for me. And then, I have 2 mentally.
You say that?
Yes.
Now?
Yes,
No,
she
I did
did.
not.
My nephew is right here, Your Honor.
Defendant Tony Anderson is being sued by her cousin, who claims Tony nearly killed her when she attacked her with a fiberglass rod.
Stand up. State your name.
My name is Jarrell Harris. That's my auntie. Mm-hmm. When my auntie came up in the room, I was outside the door. They told me don't come in. So I hear my auntie. She like, Tracy, what's going on? So Tracy, I hear her hollering. She like, y'all think y'all bad? You think you tough? That's why your 3 brothers dead to this day. I'm gonna put you where they at. And I hear her hollering.
Yep. And Your Honor, my brothers they all were killed in 2000, and that hurt me. I was so upset. I left the next morning. That's why I left, because she said the hurtful thing. I have 4 kids, and 2 of them have special needs. She even was saying, well, that's why your kid's retarded. I mean, I know I hurt her, and I feel bad for what I did.
Did you say that?
Yes, she did. Here go my niece.
Your Honor.
My niece is right here. She was calling her out, her name and everything. She said a lot of stuff.
State your name.
Kenya Anderson.
What do you want to tell me?
Tracy, that's my cousin or whatever. We got an altercation. She started whacking me with belts and everything after the whole fact.
That's
How old are you?
17.
She was 15 at the time. That's how the incident happened with her. The couple of days after that.
You whooped this young lady?
Your Honor, that did not happen. You know, that night when she
I got
hit
7
me in
witness
my
stands.
head.
Did you at age
No, I did not,
15?
Your Honor.
Did you
I got
never
7
whoop this
witnesses.
No, I did not.
Your
I
Honor,
have
I got
32 nieces and nephews,
So
and I
why do
did
you
not
think
whoop
they're
them.
making this up?
They're making it up because they lied to the police and said that I started all this.
Your Honor.
I have a written statement from a family member what she did.
How many
And they
statements
were
you
sitting
have,
at
and who are
7
they from?
This is from the family members that were there and 2 friends.
What are they saying?
All I'm saying that she went to her sister had a candy store. She went over to the candy store. Tracy acted like she was walking to the truck when she was going up. And once she walked past her, she just took the belt and started beating her with the buckle. So I was over my sister's house, and me and my sister and my other cousin.
This is a different date altogether.
This a different date. This happened after the family reunion. So I'm get the running, as I was running, I found the stick. I didn't mean to hurt her. I love her. But, I went to her rescue because she was whooping her. So I was like, Tracy, why is you hitting her with the stick? With the belt. So she swung the belt at my face. When I swung back, I had the stick. My reflex, I just hit her.
None of this happened?
Yeah.
None of that happened.
Here goes the statements right here.
Right. You describe to me what exactly happened.
When it started in the 18th, we bypassed that. On the 21st was a Monday. I was sitting at my sister's house. I didn't come out there until 5 o'clock that evening. My mom and my dad was sitting outside on the porch. She drove her van around the corner, got out of the car, and jumped out and said, Tracy, what's up? You ready to fight? She threw her hands up. My mother said, don't feed into that. So I didn't feed into it. I sat on the porch with my mom. As it got darker and darker, her and her family member gave her the rod. They standing in the middle of the street playing like they Karate Kid.
Was this young lady there?
All of them was there. She had 30-some family members there. So
you
my
think
mom,
all 30 of them were there to jump on you?
Yeah, I know my family member. Yes, they will.
30.
Yes, they will fight. If it's got something to do with her, yes, it will.
So what did happen? Tell me about.
So that night, when I was sitting on the porch, I asked my nephew for some gym shoes. I had on some flip-flops. I went and put my gym shoes on. My mom said no. And she went around the corner and told my sister to give her the cell phone so she can call the police before it even happened. That's when Kenya came and jumped me from behind and tried to pull me down. My nephew hopped the fence and grabbed her and said, get off my auntie. That's when Tony pushed my father out the way. She told him I hit old people too. My father said, no, you're not finna hit my daughter like that. And that's when she came around and whacked me. And next thing I knew, the police was coming in, and she ran through her sister's house, and they told her to turn herself in or she gonna make the matter worse.
What happened when the police came?
When they came, she had ran.
Did
and
you
they was
press
waiting
charges?
for. Yes, I did. I have the paper right here.
All right. And what happened as a result? Ma'am, were you convicted?
Yes. I pled guilty for domestic battery.
So why don't you think you should pay?
Your Honor, I think I should pay for her medical bill, but pain and suffering, she was provoked. She provoked the fight because she attacked my niece. And Your Honor, when I was locked up in jail, I've been at my job for 10 years. She called my job several times, telling them that I was in jail for attempt murder.
Did you do that?
No.
Your Honor, she even went up to my job. I lost my job because of this incident.
Did you go to her job?
No.
I have in my statement that she went up to my
Who
job.
are the statements from?
It was a sister and a friend.
Do you have anything from your employer?
No, I don't.
Why?
Because they didn't want to get involved with it.
They got involved by firing you.
I know. But Your Honor, she called my job.
Did you ever hear why she lost her job? Either of you two?
I did.
What'd you hear?
I heard that Tracy, my cousin, went up to her job and went up there while she was locked up and kept going back and forth, calling, saying that she was convicted of attempt murder. And
Who told you that?
That's what that was the
They
streets was
who?
coming telling us. People that she was going back talking to.
I know what they mean when the
Your
streets are coming
Honor,
back telling you that.
Defendant Tony Anderson is being sued by her cousin, who claims Tony nearly killed her when she attacked her with a fiberglass rod.
Has she ever accused you of this before, of interfering with her job, of coming to her job?
Yes, she did. She said
And what
that
did you tell her?
I told her I didn't call her job. Anybody can call up there and say it's me. But Your Honor, her boss is my sister's son's godfather, and she called her and asked her, when you go to your job, you
say that again. Your what? Your sister's. Give me this relative scenario again. Your who?
My sister's son. The boss is her god.
Your Honor, that's not true. I
godfather.
work at a group home, and it's all the supervisors are different. Her whatever she's saying, that was not my boss. So,
But does he work for the same facility?
Yes.
We don't know whether she said it or the nephew said it. We do know that you pled guilty to it, ma'am. And when you plead guilty to something, although sometimes people take a plea bargain to avoid the risk of being convicted, the lawyer says, I worked out a deal for you. You'll get 30 days if you plead guilty, or you'll get probation if you plead guilty. However, if we go to trial and you lose, you'll get 5 years. Well, most people will take that 30 days or that probation. The downside of that is that it follows you. That plea bargain follows you. Or you get sued. And it's irrefutable evidence because you've essentially said, yeah, I did it when you pled. So I'm going to have to grant her judgment. And you all have 100 family members, 30 of them hanging out on the porch. So I don't know, ma'am, I don't know who called your job. Unless you bring me something saying that she did it, I can't hold her liable. So I'm going to grant her judgment and dismiss yours. $5,000 for the plaintiff. Have a good day. Hope you guys learned your lesson.
well, I'm gonna just stay away from her because she said some hurtful things to me, and I know I hurt her. Just leave her alone.
I'm just gonna stay my distance. She deserved what she got. Maybe next time she'll think about hitting a family member again.
We recently spoke with defendant Tony Anderson, who told us that she was glad she got the opportunity to apologize to her cousin on the show because since then, their relationship has slowly improved. Tony told us that after losing additional family members, she and the plaintiff, Tracy Cole, both realized that life is short, so they began speaking again and now see each other from time to time. We tried reaching out to Tracy, but were unable to reach her. So Tracy, if you're watching, please give us a call.